Last night, people held up on the A47 with floods. Would you believe it? They've been up in Scotland and up in the Lake District, and now they've hit Norfolk. People took an hour and 40 minutes to get home from Norwich. Who could believe it, in the middle of Norfolk, which is as flat as any county in this country, and there we are with floods because the water is pouring down off the fields. However, by this morning, they were all pumped away and all was well.
Do you need my name? I don't really have any recollection of this, but when I was 10 months old, there was an air raid. It was in 1942. And we lived quite close to a park in Norwich, which had an air raid shelter. My mother took me across to the shelter, wrapped up in a blanket, and was told that the shelter was full. And she was turned away. At that moment, the bomber came over, dropped the bomb directly onto the shelter, and everybody in the shelter was killed. So I had a very lucky escape.
One of the most significant events in the life of a naval chaplain is crossing the line. That's the first time you cross the equator in a ship, and it's a really splendid and very funny and lovely experience. Well, it would be if you weren't the chaplain and everybody wants to make the most fun out of you as possible. So the night before you cross the equator, everybody gathers together and you go before the court of King Neptune. And when you've gone across the court of King Neptune, you have to plead guilty or not to having crossed the equator.
Something that I could tell you, but boys used to go out poaching. You know what poaching is? Taking pheasants off farmers' land. Well, I was out one night doing a bit of poaching, and I saw a light come towards him, you see, and that was old farmer. He was having a look around to see what was going on. They ran into his barn, and they hid up. There were some sacks in the corner, so they all jumped in the sack. And when he come in, shone a torch on one, he kicked into it, and the chap inside said, meow. He thought, well, that's one of my old cats got in there. He went and kicked the next one, and the bloke what was hid up in there, he said, woof woof. So he thought, oh, my old dog had got in there. When he went and kicked the third sack, the voice said, taters.